Well, yo, what's going on, everybody? Or whoever's in here. Glad you're here tonight. It's not going to be a long one tonight, but I think we should talk about the weight scale since right now at the gym we are doing a weight loss challenge. Um, so let's talk about that dreaded scale that everyone hates so much, you know? And let me know too, like I changed some settings on my camera, I think. Yeah. And I don't know if it's like laggy or not. Let's see real quick. No, I think it looks okay. Can y'all hear me all right and everything? Yeah, I think we're good. So the weight scale, should you use it? Absolutely. I think any type of way to track progress is awesome. Okay. Skinfold testing, I'm a fan of. Body measurements, you know, seeing where when you lose weight, where is it coming off? Also, if you hear like some humming in the background, let me know because I got the heater on in here because it's freezing. But anyways, going back to it, the scale is a great tool to track progress, but there are a few things you need to know about it. Let's talk about first and foremost the things you have to do when you're weighing yourself. One, do it at the same time every time you do it. Don't do it like 5 o'clock in the morning and then like 5 days later do it at 9 p.m. after you're like binging popcorn and watching Netflix. You know, the scale's gonna be different, and we'll go over why in a second. So yeah, so always the same time. You also want to make sure, like, some people kind of forget this, but clothing makes a difference. So right now it's cold. So obviously if I am bundled up with sweatpants, a couple jackets like I am now, I'm gonna weigh more on the scale than if I was just, you know, in my drawers, right? So always make sure you're slim down in your clothing before you weigh yourself. Slim down. I don't even know if that's the right term, but yes. And then what was yeah, weigh yourself at the same time. And then, those are two of the main ones. So let's just keep it at that. Keep it really simple. Now, what I get all the time is, man, like my weight fluctuates. Like it's up and down, up and down. I thought I lost a couple of pounds and then I'm super heavy 3 days later. Again, if you're not measuring your pause. I remember the last one. It's use the same scale at the same place. Okay, don't like weigh yourself at the gym on their scale and then weigh yourself at home on your scale and then try to judge the two. Like you weigh yourself at the gym on Monday, then weigh yourself at your house on like Wednesday. Always keep it the same scale. One, because there can be slight differences in how the scale um reads. So it shouldn't be that much different, but that is a key point, is you want to keep everything that you can consistent, right? So anyways, our weight fluctuates. A lot of things. What are we eating? Are we eating a lot of foods that contain salt and we drink a lot of water? Because if we do, we hold on to that water and we'll weigh more. Pretty simple stuff. If we eat really clean on Tuesday, like chicken, veggies, tilapia, no cookies, no chips, we weigh ourselves, that night. And then the next day we eat pizza, those mozzarella sticks that are from Papa John's that are really good, Little Caesars, Then we weigh ourselves after that. We're obviously going to weigh more, right? Just because it sits heavier, it's a lot more food. So you got to take into account those things. So water intake, how clean you're eating, and when you binge eat, you obviously will weigh more. Okay? I mean, it's pretty simple. Most people know that stuff. Okay? So my rule of thumb when you're weighing yourself is always do it in the morning, right? You haven't eaten anything, you haven't really drank anything, maybe a little bit of water or coffee, right? And that's not going to make a big difference. So weigh yourself in the morning and try to be in as few clothes as possible, just be naked, right? um but yeah, like, so those are some reasons why the weight will fluctuate. So is the scale the end all be all? No, I think if you've been in fitness at all, or if you've been dieting or trying to make a lifestyle change, you have noticed that like when you put on some muscle, you might weigh a little bit more, or the scale doesn't drop as quickly as it did in the beginning. There's a lot of different aspects when it comes to weight, is what I'm trying to get at. So that's why I think you don't just do the weight scale, you also do other ways to track your progress. So let's say the scale didn't drop, but your arms got smaller, right? So maybe we lost some fat on our arms, but we also gained some muscle. We still weigh the same, but our body composition's different. Big point here. Now, that's not always the case. Another big thing that people struggle with when it comes to the scale is that when you are at your heaviest and you start working out for the first time in months, right? You drop really quick, and that's awesome. But the body eventually evens out as we start losing more and more body fat. So instead of losing that 10 pounds a month, we're losing like 3 to 5. And some people get like really upset about that. The thing is, if you lost 30 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is every month, you'd be a toothpick. And that's not the goal here. So, should you weigh yourself, and how often? I do 3 times a week when I'm looking for it. And let me explain why. And this is a little difficult, I think, to explain or understand, but it's what works for me. Monday, I'll weigh myself. I'll weigh myself on Wednesday and then Friday. And let me kind of explain why. I want to see what my lowest weight is and what my highest weight is. That way I kind of know where I fluctuate. So let me give you an example. Let's say I weigh 150 pounds on Monday. I'm 152 on Wednesday. And let's say I'm like 151 on Friday. Okay, well, I know because I weighed 152 or whatever, that maybe if I eat something that's not terrible, but not healthy for me, I'm still in that ratio. Oh, hold on. Scrap that. That is terrible. Let's start over here. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I want to know what my heaviest weight is and my lightest weight. Let's say my lightest weight's 150, my heaviest weight's 155. If on Friday, my wife wants pizza and I weigh 155, and I know that I weighed 150 earlier in the week, I am not cheating that day or eating bad, because I've been eating pretty poorly for the whole week because I'm 5 pounds heavier. But I know my body fluctuates. That's why I also measure on Wednesday. Gosh, sometimes I can be terrible at explaining, but that's what I do. Not saying that that's not what everyone needs to do. I want to see where my body fluctuates, heaviest to lightest, and my goal is to transition that downwards. So the next week, I'd want to weigh 149 at my lowest, and my heaviest be 154, because I was at 150 to 155. So that way I give myself a little bit of wiggle room, right? Like I'm not constantly like, oh, I'm a pound heavier or I'm a pound lighter. Measure myself 3 times a week. I see how much I fluctuate based off my eating, and then I try to scale down by that big ratio. Make sense? If it doesn't, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Anybody else, I would recommend 3 times a month. Beginning of the month, the middle of the month, and the end. Why? See where we start, see how's it going, and where we end up. Because you don't want to just weigh yourself in the beginning and the end, because what about in the middle, you haven't lost any weight? You need a little you need a wake-up call like, hey, we ain't even close to the goal that we've set for ourselves. So 3 times a month, that's not that bad. But you got to make sure it's at the same time, the same place, and you're dressed the same, okay? Does that make sense? I don't think the scale is incredibly accurate in determining, am I fat? Do I have a lot of muscle? Am I fit? 135 pounds to some women is super fit. And for some women, it may not. It all depends, right, on how your body is framed. So if you're taller, skinnier, broader, whatever you may be, a certain number on the scale does not determine if you're fit or not. Just understand that. That's why other tracking mechanisms or other types of measuring I also like to include, because I think it's good. But I do think weight loss is a real thing. I don't think there should always be an excuse of I've gained muscle, so I haven't I weigh the same. You can only say that so many times until you're kind of like, because you shouldn't be gaining that much muscle consistently, right? You're not going to gain 20 pounds of muscle in 2 months, right? So the scale, good way of measurement. I'm for it. You should do it. It's a way that easily tracks your progress when it comes to losing weight. A pound a week is what we're looking for, people. Not 5 pounds, not 6 pounds. A pound a week is sustainable. It's doable. You're able to live life with your family and friends. You're able to have that one glass of wine. You're able to have that chicken wings, those mozzarella sticks from Domino's or whatever it may be. 1 pound a week, doable. So that's where I would start. But also you learn yourself, you'll kind of start learning your body. And that's a big thing I preach about too in the gym, is kind of learning how your body works. Where do you lose fat? Where do you look skinnier? What's the scale been saying? Have you been stuck at 150 for a while? What do you weigh back in your 20s? Not that you should weigh that now, but your framework, how much you weigh, how much you hold, will be different than everybody else. But no matter the case, if you are on a calorie deficit, that scale should go down. Eventually, you know? If you just started working out, maybe gain some muscle mass, but over 4 month span, you definitely should be seeing some weight fall off. And if you haven't, you can't blame it on muscle. I'll tell you that. That makes sense for everybody. I want to try to explain how I do it one more time. I think I'm just terrible at that. Lola's itching like crazy too. She has allergies, okay? So don't mind her. You may have understood, but I'm gonna say it one more time. I measure myself 3 times a week when I'm tracking my weight and to see my weight loss. I want to see what my heaviest is and what my lightest is throughout the week. Okay, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday is how I do it. You can do Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, whatever. If I'm 150 at my lightest, I'm 155 at my heaviest. Okay, my goal is the next week, my lowest be 149, my heaviest be 154. Okay, gives me some wiggle room. I think that explained it much better that time. Anybody got any questions over any of this? If not, it's understandable. I think the biggest thing I want you guys to take away is the weight scale is an awesome tool to measure progress. It should not be the only tool, and it should not be the judgment caller or the judger on if you're fat or not, if you've gained fat or if you've gained muscle, right? But at the end of the day, if you're trying to lose weight, the scale should go down regardless of you building muscle or not. Eventually, it should go down. A pound a week, people. That's what we're looking for. And that should be it. That's where we're at. Scale's a good thing. Remain consistent. Do the same scale. Be naked, okay? Or just a small amount of clothing. And do it at the same time. I recommend the mornings. Listen, I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. If you're watching this at another time, I love you too. Leave a comment, leave a like. If there's something else you want to talk about, just let me know. We'll talk about it. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome, awesome Wednesday night.